educational program is this Peace Scholarship Program, and it's a master's degree or a professional certificate fellowship in international relations, peace, and conflict resolution. Now, isn't that cool that you can actually go to school and study peace? And there are 5 Rotary Peace Centers at major universities around the world. And one of the very cool things about this fellowship, I heard somebody else speak about recently, it actually includes money for the fellows to do a practicum, which means getting off the campus and going into the field for a period of time and actually having a hands-on experience of doing mediation or some other thing related to their course of study. In the last reported year, there were 52 fellows from 29 countries, and there were 41 professional development certificates awarded. And you can see there the centers are all over the world, in Thailand, in North Carolina, in Tokyo, in Argentina, England, Australia, and a brand new one starting up in Sweden. So we're very fortunate today to have Mary Beth Denard join us, and she is a Rotary Peace Scholar. There are not very many in the Chicago area from this program. Most of them in the U.S. are in the Washington, D.C. or New York area. So it's very unusual for a club to be able to have a Peace Scholar. We're very fortunate to have Mary Beth here.
Thank you for having me. You know, just following up on what Jamie said, I was thinking about different Rotary clubs and conferences I've spoken at, and I realized that I've spoken at 4 Rotary Zone Institutes in 4 countries, and in those speeches, they've been in 2 languages, and neither language is English. So I think that that says a lot about the Rotary Foundation and not only the types of people that are selected, but also what happens in the transformation that occurs once you have gone through an ambassadorial scholarship program or a Peace Fellows program. So I grew up in Medina, Ohio, which isn't all too far from here. After undergrad, I was fortunate, I was really interested in economic development and sort of how that relates to countries and conflict. And so I was fortunate, I went first on a Fulbright to Bamako, Mali, and I studied microfinance. And this was before Mohammed Yunus won the Peace, the Nobel Peace Prize. This was before microfinance was really on the map. And I worked with a lot of women in markets, discussing the loans they've received and how sort of the lending organization could help improve their businesses. What I realized from that year was that I needed more education. I needed to know more about international relations, economics, how they related, and how working on the ground in economic development could help to promote international understanding and peace. So I applied for the Rotary Fellowship, and I just want to say, Rotary's vision in this was really extraordinary. It was really before everyone else. It was really avant-garde. They really got it. The Rotary Foundation was a complete first mover in this area. Providing training in international studies to further peace and international understanding in the world. We have Rotary Peace Fellows who play such a large role in promoting tolerance, international understanding. And one of the best things about this program was also the network of Peace Fellows that it creates. So not only from your particular center, but among the different centers. I have friends and colleagues who are working in such things as working on combating child trafficking at Interpol, working at the World Bank, USAID, the State Department, various NGOs. One of the girls from my Peace Center got a PhD at the RAND Institute and is now working in DC. There's just a variety of different options and things that people do afterwards. So I'd like to speak personally now about my 2 years in the master's program. I was at Sciences Po, which unfortunately is no longer a Rotary Center. Now they're opening one in Sweden. So I studied for 2 years and came away with 2 master's degrees and a certificate in peace studies, which is pretty remarkable, and it's all thanks to Rotary. The Rotary Center there coordinated trips for us to Caen in Normandy and to Verdun to learn firsthand about the history of Europe and the conflicts that occurred there, and how these populations had come to terms with what had gone on and were sort of moving forward. Also, as Rich mentioned, the applied field experience, you do it between your first and second year. And I applied to the International Institute for Mediation and Conflict Resolution in The Hague. So I was lucky enough to spend a summer in The Hague where we had hands-on training in negotiation and mediation. There were 3 Peace Fellows from my center, and then there were probably 4 or 5 from other Rotary centers around the world. So that was a fabulous experience. We visited the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, the Tribunal for the ex-Yugoslavia. And following my studies, I stayed in Paris. I worked at the French Institute for International Relations and UNESCO. I then spent some time at Ernst & Young in sort of financial auditing and transaction advisory. And one of the best things there was that one of the major clients that I worked on was Doctors Without Borders. And that was just amazing, seeing how the training that I had in economics and business could be applied to an amazing organization like Doctors Without Borders, so that we could bring sort of efficiency, but also sort of just furthering their mission. How are we on time? Okay. So following France, I lived in Germany, and I also worked at the German Federal Foreign Office in their United Nations division. So basically we were coordinating the German team in New York at the UN would send us sort of the resolutions that were up for discussion and voting. We would advise them on how to vote. So we would have to coordinate with the different German ministries, we would have to coordinate at the EU level, and then come up with sort of the German government's policy on that particular issue. The issues we worked on were development policy and women, trade policy, globalization and interdependence. And again, if I hadn't had the knowledge of Europe and the knowledge of international relations that I'd had from the Rotary Center in Sciences Po in Paris, I would not have been able to succeed in that position. So I came back to the US 3 years ago to start. I did a JD MBA at Northwestern, and I know you're saying more school. But through working in Paris following the fellowship, I realized that there were a lot of legal issues that I didn't understand and that came up frequently in the work I wanted to do. So I've just finished a JD MBA at Northwestern. I did a concentration in international law at the law school, and this past year I spent the entire year working in their human rights clinic, which was also a very transformative experience. And working with clients who are, one of our particular clients is a Mexican national on death row in Texas who didn't have access to consular assistance and wasn't given his consular rights. And that's something that I remember talking about way back at the Rotary Center in Paris, because another Mexican national at the time was going through the same issue. And just discussing how the U.S. should live up to its international obligations, but then as an American citizen, you are representing the U.S. And so, I definitely have very strong feelings about it, but at the same time, I'm also very proud of my country. And so where's the line when you don't necessarily agree with the policy that your government's pursuing, but that, you are an American and you're very proud to be that. So that was a very interesting learning experience of kind of how to walk that line, not only in France and in Germany, and now even back here. I guess I'll just conclude with a thank you. I mean, thank you for your support of the Rotary Foundation. And all of you here, not only my studies, but so many others who you won't really ever meet, but who, I brought along with me the alumni brochure for the Peace Studies program, because there are some fabulous people doing amazing things in there. Rotary, the World Peace Fellowship, plays such an important role in furthering the goals of the foundation. I mean, for me in Europe, you think, wait, 65 years ago, who would have thought that Europe would be a completely free world, sharing the same currency, opening its borders? I mean, it was not foreseeable at all at the time, but it's a reality now. No one would ever even give a second thought. What, France and Germany? It's fine. And so that's sort of the challenge, thinking about the future and thinking about peace. You see these challenges today that seem completely impossible, but it's going to become a reality. I mean, you just have to believe that there is a future where there can be peace in the world, and the Rotary Foundation is a big part of pursuing this goal. So thank you.
Thank you.